Hi, honey. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are celebrating being put back into +3 after last month's purge, dying on the hill made out of oatmeal raisin cookies, sending me Punnett squares of what weapon our kid will likely main when they get older. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Hey, everybody knows now the secret my wife and I have been holding for the past 14 weeks or so. We're having a kid. That feels so cool to say out loud. We told our parents during Christmas, and we didn't tell anybody else until we were sure we were getting out of the first trimester. It's been we've been wanting to have a kid for a while now. It just felt like the time was kind of right. There's a lot of medical stuff that's always kind of scary. The first trimester in general just flat out sucks. It really sucks. But as far as we can tell, we're mathematically out of the first trimester, and hopefully my wife's appetite will start chilling out a little bit going forward with that. We just found out this morning, my wife is out on vacation, so she's out of town for the week, and she DM'd me this morning. We just found out it's going to be a boy, so that's exciting. That's some really exciting stuff. I was excited for either outcome with that one, but getting an answer to that was pretty cool. So now we know what to kind of see with that. So we shared this news with everybody on our Twitter, our Splatoon Twitter. We shared it a lot with the IRLs. As well, so everybody in the world that cares now knows. I've seen a lot of stuff that's like, obviously when we share it with you guys, the Splatoon people, you get a lot of Splatoon related responses. It's like, oh, what weapon is the kid going to main? Are they going to be low ink banned? Are they going to become the new low ink head TO? And I know we're kind of like just joking around with stuff like that. It's to be expected. It's fine. I just want it stated on the record that our kid is never going to know any of you jackasses, and none of you are ever going to meet our kid. We're not going to be those kinds of parents that milks our kid for internet clout. That's not why we made that post. That's not why we're sharing this with any of you guys. We just feel like you guys should know. On a more serious note, I'm very fortunate to have grown up with parents who didn't have this like preset path laid out for me for what my life was going to be. My grandfather is in the Kentucky High School Hall of Fame, Athletic Hall of Fame, for football. My dad was an all-state football player. Every boy in my family has played high school football, including myself. But there was never any pressure on me to play football growing up. There was no, even when I told my dad I wanted to do high school football, he even told me like, you don't have to do this because of like what our family is, right? Like you can just, and I was like, yeah, I never felt pressure with that. And they were always supportive of anything I wanted to do. That even if it was something they knew how to be involved in, or like I was in marching band, I was involved in band for over 10 years between elementary school and college, and they were just as supportive of that as anything. My point being, don't think we're like gonna raise a kid to be the next competitive Splatoon Div X person. Like that's not the point. Like you want to try to expose your kid to as many different things as possible and help them figure out whatever it is that they have an interest in and support them in going through that. So I just wanted that stated on the record. I don't know. Maybe some of it annoyed me that people automatically assumed there was some sort of like future predestined for the kid or not. I don't know. We're all joking, but now that I'm a parent and I got like a kid involved in things, I see things a little bit differently. So I just wanted to point that out. And if you've watched My Hero Academia, what happens to all of the kids that grow up because their parents have this preset path? Here's who you're going to be when you grow up. All of those kids literally become serial killers in that show. So I think it's best to just let your kid do whatever they feel like doing, or else they're going to turn out to be mass murderers. As far as my involvement in the scene is going to going forward with this, in the interim, nothing's really changing. If you paid attention to anything I did last week, as I now have my Splatoon calendar for all the stuff I do, commentary-wise, TOing-wise, and whatnot. I get it all listed out here so I don't double book myself. I commentated 4 events last weekend. So between now and by the time the kid comes out of the wife, we're just kind of coasting as usual. Still planning on going to Low Tide City. Still gonna play. I remember talking to Sigurd, and this was like 3 years ago. I just asked Sigurd. I was like, I know you have kids now that are slightly grown up, like elementary age or something like that. But when if your kids were newborns or they were babies, would you be playing competitive Splatoon? And he literally just laughed at me and said, F no. And I was like, all right, that's the answer I need to know. I now understand the hell that I'm going to be in for, that we're going to be in for having more kids. So I'll just go ahead and just retire from playing the game now. It's safe. Don't even have to worry about that. What am I going to do? Like low ink wise, IPL wise, Popcast wise? Honestly, I have no idea. Nothing's going to change between now and July, but once we get there, I have no clue. I'll tell you this right now. We're not going to be at we're not going to be at Riptide. We're not going to be at the Big House. We'll watch it. We'll support it, but Low Tide City is the only land we're going to be at this year. But I don't really know what the future is going to hold with these things. I want the Popcast to keep going. I plan on it to keep going. If there's the last thing I'm going to give up in the competitive Splatoon scene is going to be the Popcast. I'll like diminish my role at IPL. I'll leave Low Ink, and then I'll give up the Popcast. Trying to figure, I'll give that out all in that order. I already got some ideas because I know during the month of August I'm not going to do anything. I already got some ideas of some people I want to reach out to. Riza, I saw you in chat. Obviously Falco and JPEG. There's some other people. Like, I want to just let other people be guest host of the podcast during the month of August while we're at home with our newborn. I'll just give you like my Twitch passcode, and here, you do a whole episode. Like, you get an hour, you talk about whatever you want to talk about. Just follow the same kind of trend that you would do for a podcast and just go with it like that. Like, I think that'd be pretty interesting. And yeah, I'll give you my, I'm being dead ass. I'll give you my stream key and just let you guys go at it. And the only restriction is keep it PG. Like, you can say a damn, an ass, you can call someone a bitch here and there. I wouldn't go beyond that. And just throwing that out there at some people. I'll be reaching out with DMs as the year goes on, but I want the podcast to keep going, even if I am not going to have time to sit down and write out things. And JPEG's already been a guest host, so it'd be a perfect fit for that. After that, I have no idea. We'll just take it a month at a time. I gotta tell you guys, look, I could sit here and spend the whole episode talking about this. The coolest thing so far in the baby process is the ultrasound. So like, we've already done the ultrasound, or one ultrasound, and you're there and you see it. You see the kid, obviously, but you see it like it's like 60 frames per second. Like, it's so perfectly clear. You can literally see the heart beating. It's so weird. And it looks just like you would imagine it looking. It's just like a cartoon. You know, in a cartoon when like a hot girl walks past a guy and then it shows like the little x-ray of the guy and his heart just like boom, 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 boom. That's what it's like looking at your kid in a ultrasound. It is crazy and it's really cool. And then we got to hear the heartbeat over like some like FM radio weird thing, and like I had no idea. The doctor was like, "You hear this weird sound? That's the heartbeat. That's a good thing. It sounds really good." It's like, "Oh, okay, cool, thanks." But we're moving on. We're moving on. But thank you for the words of encouragement and the excitement. And we are crazy excited about everything going forward. News of tournaments that may be of interest to the casual listener of the podcast that is here for Splatoon stuff and not to hear me gush about my kid. It's 20XX weekend. Going to be Saturday and Sunday, hosted by Dapple Productions. Go ahead and sign up for that if you haven't already. Most of you are going to wait till the last possible minute. I don't know when they close registration, but don't be one of those people that's super cringe and waits till like 2 hours after registration closes, and then you miss it, and then you go on Twitter and be like, the TO should have opened it up later. I can't believe they didn't let me back in. Do they not know who I am? Like, bruh, you have right now to sign up. If you're planning a 20XX, if you're planning to play in it, and you're listening to the Popcast live right now, go sign up right now. There's, like, come on, I'm not going to be, you can keep this channel open and still sign up at the same time. This is meant to be something you listen to. I know I'm sexy as all get out, but you'll be fine not looking at my face for like 10 seconds to go register your team on Battlefly. Come on, guys. That's really the only tournament I want to talk about. I know there's like a gazillion others probably going on this week. I will mention Proving Grounds is going on Friday. The only reason I'm mentioning that is because we're doing a format change. I feel like the groups into a single elimination top cut was fine, but I feel like Proving Grounds hasn't found the perfect formula for what we're trying to, for what the tournament's trying to be just yet. So I think we might have gotten something pretty good. So we're doing the single elim thing. Single elim from start up until top 4. Once you get the top 4, we're going to do double elimination from that point, which isn't really that much. It's just like 1-2 extra matches to extend the set, to extend the whole tournament. But hey, it's Proving Grounds. You're supposed to be proving who you are, and you can't do that by losing. So why not make a single elimination tournament? If nobody signs up for it, then we know, okay, next time we're just not going to do it. But I feel like there's the demand for it, so we're going to give it a shot. And if it sucks, it sucks. Today, we are going to be recapping Little Squid League number 27, along with a very, very lengthy weekly recap. And as I was writing out the weekly recap, I had like 6 tournaments listed out I wanted to at least mention the results for, and realized, oh, wait, I didn't even mention this other tournament. And there's some tournaments I just said, screw it, I'm not going to talk about it at all because this is going to take too long. There's a lot of stuff going on last week. A lot of stuff. We're going to try to hit as much of it as we can. But first, it was a busy week in the Splatoon community. A record 500 tournaments took place last weekend. And other than the tournaments, you had a lot of really crazy, weird, bizarre talking points. You had a team that was caught cheating in the Ludi playoffs. Well, not like accidentally cheating. Like they knowingly cheated and broke the rules, and then complained about the other team that called them out for cheating to get them disqualified. Like that is so bizarre to me that you would be like, oh, it's their fault for snitching on us. You're like, you are literally in a goblin costume complaining about the meddling kids breaking up your little crime thing that you got going on. Like that happened. That was the thing. All kinds of crazy upsets during the round 1 of Ludi season. If you listened to my prediction for last week, I'm sorry. If you haven't listened to my Ludi prediction for the playoffs, that was last episode, don't go back and watch it. It's all wildly inaccurate. I could not have been more incorrect about DivX. Literally could not have been more incorrect about DivX. I got that entire thing wrong. That's just playoffs for you. Wow. Ludi's been pretty crazy so far. Plus server votings came out yesterday, if anybody actually cares about that stuff. Paddling Pool had their 200th tournament. Falco, I believe, streamed everything, including the flag football Pro Bowl matches at the same time last week. It just constantly pushing the envelope for what production is. Falco literally streamed 2 matches at the same time. Twice. Literally 2 matches at the same time. When one match was done and they were selecting weapons, there was a look and scream to see what else was going on in the match that wasn't even on screen, with somebody there who watched it and give it like a quick synopsis before the other green game went back. Just stuff that you think is like so far ahead of where everybody else is. And I'm sitting here at IPL being like, this one guy is kicking our ass, and it makes no sense. Like we're this big organization. We got all these incredible production people, and this one guy is setting the tone for what production should be. It's really bizarre with that. So that was going on. Splat Safety reared their head and said, hey, we're still a thing. We're banning this person that was a jackass back in September. We're banning them from 2 years, to which everybody said, I completely forgot about that person until you told me they were banned. And the reason you guys forgot about that person, which is Rhythm, is because all the orgs already banned Rhythm frame 1 anyways, because we read the doc and was like, oh, That's pretty cringe. And then we saw Rhythm run away like a little coward. And it was like, oh, well, that might suggest you're kind of guilty. And there's some truth to this thing. So this person was already gone, but Splat Safety just reminded everybody that A, they still exist, and B, they took forever to rule on the most obvious of things, even though it is helpful to have that deeper dive into some things because there is more to a story than just a twit longer. But still, that happened just an hour before the Popcast went live today. Kraken Mayer announced his retirement from TOing, stepping down from his role at IPL, which, if you're not familiar with the infrastructure of IPL, Kraken was at the top with Ho and Hero. Kraken Mayer's the guy who signs my non-existent paychecks. I guess he got tired of me constantly asking when my health insurance benefits were going to kick in with IPL and said, nah, I'm just out deuces. So... but also, I believe he stated in his tweet longer that he's stepping down as his role at Splat Safety as well. So that leaves a lot of question marks with that. So there's tons of talking points to go on with the last week. Instead, considering the mood that I'm in, the week that I have facing me and coming forward, I decided to go with a little bit of a lighter topic. And, of course, I'm going to find ways to make this light topic into some sort of gripe fest at other people. But 20XX is coming up. The Dapple Productions quarterly, triannually tournament, I guess it's supposed to be every 3 or 4 months or so. 20XX, the second 20XX of Splatoon 3 is going on this upcoming weekend. I'm excited for it. I'm not playing in it, but I get to watch it. I get to sit on the couch and just enjoy it. Me and old Moose that is not in here. I think he's on the other bed chewing on a peanut butter bone. We just get to relax and enjoy a tournament for once. Yeah, make sure you do. This would be a great time, Kraken, to install a healthcare plan with IPL and then leave knowing that you don't have to deal with the aftermath of it. I'd sign off on that. With 20XX coming up, though, there is an important question that I hope gets answered from this weekend. Something we ought to be paying attention to outside of just the initial tournament that you're seeing. There's a bigger story going on here. The storylines you guys are going to pay attention to are not what I'm talking about. Some of the things you guys are going to pay attention to is, are we going to figure out through this tournament who the true second fiddle is to Starburst? Starburst is the team that's looking for a second place team. The Robin to their Batman. You realize that, right? There is nobody that's on the same stratosphere as Starburst right now. I don't care how many times other teams disband and shuffle new players together. I don't even care if Starburst gets upset by somebody this weekend in 20XX. At the end of the day, Starburst has done so much since they took the torch from not FTW at Riptide 2021 to where they are right now. It's not even fair what they've been doing since then. So to say anybody is like chasing Starburst, that's not where those teams are at anymore. Starburst has left North America, and it's just the question of, can they truly compete with the teams from Japan or not? Everybody else is just battling to see who's going to be the second best team. Is it Sayonara? They seem to have kind of slipped a bit in that kind of category. Alliance Rogue, do they have a new player? Who's their fourth going to be? Are they even playing as Alliance Rogue? I don't know. That'll be a question to figure out once signups are done. The CS team, Common Sense, Crush Soda, Computer Science, the Kyo and Friends. That is the new, with Goss and Thunder and Wave. Is that the new second place team? Could they actually compete once they get more synergy together? Could they actually compete with Starburst? Those are some questions you got to figure out as you're tuning into some of these things here. It's not the question Starburst has to figure out. The question, one of the storylines from this tournament is going to be Starburst. Can they compete and finally win a tournament that's a major? Yes, I know they won Mode Cup against a team from Japan that was Splat Zones only. Yes, I know they won a Rainmaker Cup. That was a Japan tournament. They went over the internet overseas and played in that and won that. I understand that. But winning a 20XX tournament would be completely different from winning those other two. They're not mode specific, and they are 2-day major tournaments. These are big deals, these 20XX, compared to those other two. So if they could find a way to win this tournament, and I don't think in any tournament that's got an open with Japan invited over, I don't think anybody from North America has actually won like a legit major from that thing. Can Starburst finally do it? And if they do, are you guys going to go on Twitter and say that Starburst has closed the gap with Japan? Possibly. Now, that doesn't mean it actually happened, but it's something you guys are definitely going to be talking about. Another talking point that's going to come up during the point over the course of this tournament, and you guys know this is coming. You guys know this is 100% coming. The top 4 teams are either going to be teams from Japan or teams that are a mix of players from the West with players from Japan. You guys are going to complain, well, why? They just need to get rid of Japan. Why is Japan allowed to come over here and do all this stuff? We've talked about that at length. It doesn't matter. That's still going to be, it's an easy tweet to put out and get 100 likes and then like 50 private quote retweets, which you guys seem to care about private quote retweets for some reason. It's literally people that are saying things that they're too scared to say to you. Why would you care what they have to say? It's fine. No, they can't hurt you because they don't want you to see their stupid thoughts about you. It's okay. But that's going to be a talking point. Wow, Japan's all over this place. Whoa, Oro Jackson. That's not even Oro Jackson. That's just one player from Oro Jackson and 3 players from Japan. Wow, you're getting carried from people from Japan. It's rinse and repeat. We have the conversation. We'll spend next week talking about it, and then we'll never resurface it again, and then it just goes over and over and over in cycles. Easy likes on Twitter with tweets like that. Whew. No. None of that stuff matters. That's not what the crux of this tournament is about. What's important with this tournament is figuring out, when comparison to the last 20XX tournament that was in September or October, whatever, the first 20XX was Splatoon 3, has the community grown since last 20XX to where we are over the course of this weekend? That is the thing. So we have our controlled group and our experimental group, right? Somebody who's paid attention to science class can tell me which tournament was that. But we have the tournament coming up now, and we can use the past tournament as an example to see if things truly have improved or if the initial shock of the first game of the game coming out has died off and everybody's just kind of backing away from it. I personally don't really see tournament registration numbers as a sign of growth or not. Maybe some people do, but maybe this is just me being cynical because I've been doing so many low-inks that are absurdly big up to this point. But I'm starting to see value in tournaments that have less teams that are quality in it instead of a bloated tournament that has tons of teams in it, but out of like 200 teams that sign up, only 3 actually have a chance to win it. So it's just a bunch of other teams that have no real shot in it that are just there to kind of slow everything down to get to the point of the tournament which you actually want, which is the contenders there. So I don't really see registration numbers as being a big thing. What I personally care about, what I want to see, is the viewership numbers of this tournament. The last 20XX had a peak of 1,000 viewers on Twitch. This was about the same number that the Big House LAN got as well. And those two tournaments happened roughly back to back with each other. Big House being a LAN in-person tournament, Dapple's 20XX being an online event. Are we still going to get 1,000 viewers? Because unless you're ProChara streaming things on YouTube, you're not getting those kinds of numbers with the Splatoon event. straight up not. And Pro Charter has almost 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, so that's kind of like cheating. If you had a big name Smash player who has thousands upon thousands of followers on Twitch, yeah, Splatoon's going to get way more views. But we're putting them on Dapples and IPL and these other channels that are growing, not crazy big yet. The cap seems to be at about 1,000. Are we going to see that number skyrocket or go back down? Was it 1,000 because the game was so new? Or was it because that's how many people were bought in, excited about the game, and they're going to stick around for the long haul, and the game is only going to grow viewership-wise from there? A couple questions you got to ask as you're going into this, as you're thinking about it a little bit deeper. Is the casual viewer going to look at the game, the state of the competitive game right now, and say, Splash, Crab, really? I've seen enough of that. I get too much of Splash and Crab. I'm fine. I'm checking out. I don't want to see this anymore. It was interesting at the beginning, but I've seen so many Crabs that it's just boring at this point. It's just flat out boring. I'm gonna go watch the Super Bowl on Sunday instead. I wonder about that. I really wonder about that. Now, I've seen a lot of people tweet this out, and this is nothing new. People were tweeting this out versus whatever meta. Whenever somebody loses to a team that uses the meta, they always tweet out something like, oh, at least I didn't lose. I might have lost, but at least I didn't use a brain dead comp when I lost. Those tweets, if you tweet something out like that after you lose, I genuinely believe you've never done anything competitive in your life outside of Splatoon. I genuinely believe that. Like, if you were so upset that you think there's some sort of honor in losing because you only used 2 splashes instead of 3, it boggles my mind. I don't understand that. Yes, if you were to tweet something out being like, man, it's boring to watch this meta because everybody's using the same exact thing, I get that. And if you're Starburst, you don't really care. Why? Starburst's job is not to be entertaining. We don't give Starburst a pat on the back because they lost to a team from Japan, but they used like a undercover Brella or something silly, something that you're allowed to use and not get flamed on Twitter for doing. That's not what Starburst's job is. Their job is to win. We judge Starburst based on how they do against teams from Japan who have to play super late into Monday morning to even compete in these events that we host here in the West. So if you're somebody who's constantly tweeting out, well, we lost to a cookie cutter comp, but yeah, at least we didn't do it. Explain, what is the weapon your opponents are allowed to use? Like, what is it that your opponent can use that you're not going to be butthurt about for losing to them for? Can they use 2 Splash-O-Matics? What if they use no Splash-O-Matics, but they use 3 T-Techs on tower control? Is that allowed? Like, you guys got to define what is and isn't allowed for you guys to lose to a team without you being salty. It could just be that you're salty you lost in general, but it's a lot easier to just kind of vent and try to take honor away from a team that you lost to. It's not, we lost because our opponent did this. The tweet ends at, we lost. We lost, period, in tweet. There is no excuses for that. You don't get any honor for it. I could go on forever. My point being, as stupid as it is to tweet out something like that from a competitor, it's still very valid to point it out from a viewer perspective that the viewer does not want to see, and you guys are all going to do this. You're going to look at grand finals, and you're going to see the comp at the top of the screen. Triple splashes, machine, triple splash, E-leader. And you guys are all going to take your phones, you're going to take a screenshot of that, and you're going to post it on Twitter and be like, wow, competitive Splatoon looks so cool right now. And you're going to get 1,000 likes for it. At least 10 of you are going to do that over the course of this weekend. It's going to happen. Easy likes. Rinse and repeat. But yes, if we're trying to grow the game, are the casual viewers going to buy into that? Are they going to stick around and watch that kind of boring comp? I don't know. That's something we're going to figure out here. The one thing I give credit for Dapples before, and the reason I think this tournament will go higher than what 20XX was doing, is that Dapples Productions is making money moves in this process. They're going out, they're making a connection with Failboat. They got Squid School coming in. I believe Squid School is doing like analysis in between sets or something. I'm not quite sure what their involvement is with all of that, but they're going out and making connections with other people, big name people. Obviously, Squid School's not on the same level as Failboat, but you see they're doing a lot to draw in the casual audience or people that have some sort of interest in competitive. That is great. Now, I got to applaud Dapple Productions for taking advantage of those opportunities that are out there. The question now still remains. Because the success of this team, and I said this back in September, I said this back around October, I was so happy to see Big House get 1,000 viewers, 20XX get 1,000 viewers. That's great. The question I asked, though, and I said this on Negas's podcast, is that sustainable? Is this just the beginning, or was that just the peak because the game came out? That is the question that is going to be answered this weekend. I genuinely hope Dapples Productions blows this tournament out of the water, and it's a good sign for everything to come. If it's a huge dip back down, I don't think it's doomsday, but I think it's a sign that whatever it is that we as a community are doing to grow this scene is not getting the job done, and it might be time to start considering what adjustments need to be made across the board. That is something we'll be talking about on Monday. Was one highlighted message. Hello, LSL. Thank you for the kind words, said Falco. Gotta give Kraybot credit since he was given his game feed. That was the secondary match. Hey, credit to K-Bot. We'd take that. That's enough talking about K-Bot, though. It is time, instead, to talk about the weekly recap. Paddling pool number 200 took place this last Wednesday. Congratulations, paddling pool, on having 200 events. My goodness, take a week off and breathe for a bit. I don't normally talk about paddling pool in the weekly recap. There's a reason for that. I'm about to explain it to you right now. The teams that won this tournament, the winning team is just a smiley face. The second place team was Let Me Cook Dat Fam. And third place was Crab House. This is so stupid. That if you didn't pay attention to the actual players for that tournament art, you have no idea anything I just said. I could have just spoke that in a different language. It would mean the same exact thing as I did just reading it out right there. And you know, I can look up the rosters. In order to do that, I have to go to the Paddling Pool Discord server and search through the check-in channel to see everybody that signed in for that event to see if their name matches up. But if I just look at Challenge gives you zero information. It could literally be anybody. If somebody in the future, if we're looking at paddling pool number 250, and somebody's like, I'm going to go back and look at paddling pool 200 to see who won that. Anybody recognize? Oh, it's Smiley Face and Let Me Cook Dat Fam and Crab House. They're not going to be able to look up the rosters for that. They're not going to know anything about that. When we're talking about, oh, we need to do a better job of documenting the community. Somebody should make videos about documenting the community. Okay, how are they supposed to do that when 200 paddling pools are on Challenge and all the information is just stupid pickup names that mean absolutely nothing to anybody? End rant. Congratulations, paddling pool, on having 200 tournaments. SOS number 97 was played Wednesday night after paddling pool had concluded out across the pond there. Sonder took first place, Pass won, whoever that is took second, and Tempest ended up taking third. I gotta say, it is good to see these higher-ish level teams come back and play in SOS. I don't have anything against Smoothie. You guys know I'm a big Smoothie fan. Haya is one of my favorite people in this entire community. But I like it when Smoothie isn't winning every single week. let's draw out some bigger name folks like Sonder and Tempest, and let's see if they can get a stab at these things here. Hammerhead was won by Sassy Spikers. Mako Bracket was won by the Splat-A-Lot Imbeciles, or as Dura would call them, the Idiots. And Lantern Bracket was won by Sorry Vancouver Over. At least it's on Battlefy. If you care enough, you can look at the roster straight off of that website. SAC number 3 was won by Healthy Diet Food Groups. Something that should be in a Healthy Diet Food Group would be Watermelon, which conveniently enough is the team that finished in second place in that very same tournament. The team that finished in third place was Mercy, who won the previous SAC qualifier number 2. This was the best SAC tournament that has been around in a long, long time. I understand we look at SAC and we think about how can we get more teams in this tournament, and I'm looking at the amount of teams that sign up. It was like 30 some odd, but you look at the teams that sign up, there's only like 2 or 3, maybe 4 low ink eligible teams that sign up, and the rest is just the actual target market of SAC. Yes, if you are a mid-level player, you don't want a bunch of low ink teams playing in SAC. You want to fight other people at your skill level. I love this tournament. I didn't watch a second of it. I might have like checked in to just get a bracketer then or there, but I didn't watch much of it at all because I was commentating Div X on the Ludi channel. But it's hard to miss when the teams are playing against each other and somebody loses and then they go on Twitter and instantly start talking trash to the team they beat. You have multiple teams chirping at each other on Twitter after playing each other, and that's what I love to see. This is what happens when you trim the fat and you get the teams you want to have in your tournament. You get a quality tournament. Not saying that low ink teams shouldn't be signing up for this event, but it should be designed to where if low ink teams sign up for it, they get exactly what they're looking for, which is to get their ass beaten backwards so that they can improve and go back down and win low ink. Love this SAC event, even though less teams signed up for it than the first and second one. Squid Junction number 37 was won by Immortal Redemption, which is a pickup team made up of Lucina, Storm Hero, Slacker, and Straw Hat, whoever that is. The team that finished in second place was Otters, which was Volty, Sleepy, Pony, and Imperial. And the team that finished in third place was Raw. They finished in third place, so I didn't bother to look up what the roster of that mouthful of a team was. The biggest talking point, I guess you could say, from this tournament is that Otters was the number 1 seed, and they got upset by a Sia pickup in the winner side bracket in a best-of-3 scenario. So the players from Sia went on Twitter and were excited that they beat the players, called them out by name. We beat them, and I think that's fair. If I'm being honest, I feel like it's fair to be excited about beating other players. I've seen people say you can't do it in the middle of the tournament. I don't know why we're gatekeeping when you're allowed to be excited or not. I do think people look at that stuff and instantly recognize, though, hey, I'm happy that you're able to get that win, but I don't think it directly means like, oh, we're now going to put you in a plus server or something like that. And I'm not calling out like the Sia pickup in general. I'm just talking about multiple people who end up making tweets like that. And I can guarantee you, the Ludi Seating Council does see things like that, but you're not going to get bumped up a div because you beat somebody in a best-of-3. We look for consistent things, not like one isolated kind of events. But I will say this, because I saw the narrative of that it's mostly Div 3 and below players that do this kind of in the middle of the tournament tweet out when something happens. That is a total farce. That is not true at all, because I and you all know just as well that when everybody took a game off of FT Win, Div X, Div 1 skill level players, if they took a game off of FT Win in Splatoon 2, they were posting about it. If Shaq and Keo were playing on a pickup with two randos, they were calling that team FT Win and saying, we took 2 games off of this team. So it doesn't really matter what the skill level is. I've seen people from the very top of this community do the same kind of bragging in the middle of the tournament when they're excited about beating somebody else. It's not just low level. It's just we don't see Starburst and those other big name teams playing weeklies anymore, so they're not putting themselves out to be exposed to be upset like that. Just some talking points with that. We're not even halfway done with this. My God. The College Cephalopod Association had a one-off tournament yesterday. It was won by the Night Sharks of the University of Central Florida. Banana Split, who I didn't even recognize was a college team because I've been talking about them in Low Ink for a while. Banana Split represents UT Santa Cruz. They finished in second place. And third place went to the Penn State PSU Splatoon, the Penn State Nittany Lions. 63 teams played in a one-off college-only tournament. I just want to point something out. 63 teams is a lot of teams for a tournament. This is teams that only... The eligibility to play in the CCA probably is the most strict eligibility that there can. There is no skill cap. However, you have to be in college and have to have 3 other teammates in college, and all 4 of you have to be willing to sacrifice your GPA to practice and prepare for this. Like, there's no way you could get 63 teams for this. And CCA did. Absolutely incredible that they were able to pull that off. What's next? I have no idea. I'm assuming another regular season thing is coming up with this season, but congratulations to the TOs for that, getting 63 college teams, and for the Night Sharks for proving that they are the best current active college team in the scene that doesn't have Barry on it. Minnow Cup, the Tower Control Edition, was won by Miro. Heaven's Reflection took second place. Pixelated ended up going third. A good showing for Miro. And for Heaven's Reflection. We haven't really seen Heaven's Reflection played, but Miro, I believe I said they were a Gamma Bracket team. Commentated that match with Brush, who didn't show up because his internet exploded. Hats off to Matthew Mega, I believe, who just was able to kind of fill in last minute for that commentary block, and were able to get it out there. There was a silver bracket. I believe the first time ever Minnow Cup has had a silver bracket. Monolith, Black Komodo, and Combo are your top 3 out of that one. Ludi matches of note, and we're almost done here. The top 5 Ludi matches, in my opinion, from the past week of playoffs. In Div 1, you had Unhinged Unity going 5-4 over Micklin Heroes. Micklin Heroes playing every single game in 9 games over the course of this season. Div X and Light won the whole thing in dominant fashion. Div 5, Myopsidus got a 5-3 win over Sanguine Seas. Div 4, Frostbite got a 5-4 win over GG, wasn't it? In Div 11, Infectious Krakens 5-3 over Tag. That was your weekly recap. Sponsored by Oatmeal Raisin Cookies. I don't know why this is a thing last week, but apparently there is a strong portion of the community that has a dying passion for Oatmeal Raisin Cookies. Is it because Girl Scout cookies have come out? That's this week, right? I saw somebody bring some Girl Scout cookies into work. If Oatmeal Raisin Cookies is your thing, so be it. I eat pineapple on my pizza, sausage and pineapple on my pizza. You let me have my pizza. You can have your Oatmeal Raisin Cookies. The official sponsor of this week's episode of the weekly recap. Banana Splits from UC Davis, not Santa Cruz. Well, how about that? I thought I Googled that. Because it's the banana slugs, isn't it? UT Santa Cruz Banana Slugs. I could be wrong about that, but that is correct. So there's just another banana-related team with that. And Mizuno, I had to look up a bunch. There's a ton of other college teams playing in this tournament we're about to talk about here. So thank you for that information. I'll be sure to credit you as we go along. Healthy Diet Food Group's fourth was Div 8 a month ago. Evie, am I going to have to go on another rant about how divs are no longer relevant? I've seen people tweet this out. I need to spend less time looking at stupid things on Twitter, but I've seen people talking about, like, how can you guys see this team as the div whatever? Look what they're accomplishing. It's like, divs came out, what, early of December? It's been about 3 months now. Divs are obsolete. Like, you guys have all got results since then that would change what div you currently got right now, but so be it. Little Squid League 27. Let's talk about this tournament and call it a day. And just for a little change of scenery, we'll do I'll start throwing out the bracket right here. There we go. First off, with Little Squid League 27. Finally got the registration numbers where you think it would be. Now they ended up with 79 right here, but I think they had about 100. I know they're at 99. I would assume they got to 100 and then had to drop folks because of splash tags and whatnot. But they were knocking on the door of triple-digit teams in this one-day tournament. That is fantastic to see. It needs to be that high. It in theory, it should always be higher than low ink. It's a much easier tournament for people to commit to. There's a small number of people, and probably more if we were to, like, grill you guys a little bit closer. There'd probably be more people that complain about the fact that low ink is a 2-day tournament instead of a 1-day tournament. But this is built for it. I guess maybe the only people that complain about it are people that are all banned from Little Squid League anyways. But there you go. It should be getting a whole heck of a lot of teams that sign up for it because it's just an easy tournament and it's good. They do a good job over there of giving you as many quality matches as you can possibly get with all the multiple brackets that they have. The thing that's interesting about Little Squid League, and I probably mentioned this before, but I haven't talked about it recently when I talk about them, but this is one of the last few dominoes that have yet to fall in the whole org thing that's been going on. I've talked about this like a year and a half ago, how all these tournaments should start considering abandoning being solo and partner up with an org and get everything on one Twitch channel and under one umbrella for consistency's sake and just to take advantage of resources. After I made that point, you saw Squid Junction partner up with Dapple Productions, and look where Squid Junction has gone since then. IPL bought out SAC, and now we don't have to argue about when Low Ink and SAC is going to be. They don't have to be on the same day. I once played in an SAC and a Low Ink in the same exact day. Like, that did happen in the past. Now everything's a lot more clear. We get to take advantage of resources. Little Squid League is the biggest standalone tournament that we have left in this community. You could probably argue 4v4 Sundays is as well. And man, I would love if 4v4 Sundays was to just like partner up with somebody. We could get that tournament the kind of exposure that it needs to have outside. I feel like nobody outside of competitive even knows 4v4 is the thing, but it is the most promotable tournament we probably have in the scene on a monthly basis. But Little Squid League's in that same category. My point being, I'm sure they get some help from some other people, but it's all them. They're doing this all by themselves, and the work they've been putting on without the kind of help that an org can give you has been fantastic. So that should definitely should not go unmentioned. A lot of teams dropped, and there wasn't even a bronze bracket in the end due to only having 4 teams left. There was only 4 teams left, and for what would it be a bronze bracket? Well, I mean, teams drop all. Yeah, that happens. That do be happening from time to time, though. But, man, 79 teams that actually played. I don't know if all these guys checked in, but 79. Can we get much higher? I don't know. I feel like this is a good number to have. I don't know if that staff wants it to. You want your tournaments to get bigger. You want them to have a lot of players. And then the tournament starts, and you're like, oh, crap. I have to TO this now. Oops. Uh-oh. I want to point out one match. Now, if you look at all these things, these aren't just like the standard 4-team groups anymore. They're now Swiss groups of just 4 rounds. Yes. This is what we did in Proving Grounds. You keep it limited. Hi, buddy. How you doing? You keep it limited. These things, now, Swiss groups, people say, oh, I don't like Swiss. Swiss groups are a little bit different. And as we found out with Proving Grounds, you can just start those things as they're done instead of waiting for like every single group to finish at the same time. Like if Group A finishes like 10 minutes ahead of the other ones, you can just start Group A. Just start round 2. You guys move on ahead. And you can control the amount of rounds, too. So there's only 4 rounds here, and it's done. You move on. Cookies and juice right there. I'll point out one match from each one. From Group A, the match we want to look at here is Pond Duck Crew, and the stream just called these guys JoJo, Joe Cephalopod, Joe Starfish. That is a mouthful. This team ended up finishing in second place. Pond Duck Crew beat them 2-1. I just wanted to point this out because I want to talk about the Pond Duck Crew. They have a player, I believe, on their official roster that was a part of Crescent Night when they won Low Ink. So that player is not even allowed to play with them in Low Ink. And here they are in Little Squid League. And you got to get the sense these guys are going to be the favorite every time they sign up for Little Squid League if they're still eligible to do it. They had a good run here. They technically beat the team that finished in second place here in Swiss Stage. Couldn't really get the job done in Gold Bracket. We'll look at later, but at least for now, not too shabby. In Group B, we got Spirit Inc. and Ink Black. That's in Group, I believe that's also in Round 3 that we want to look at here. So, Ink Black, I guess technically the number 1 seed in this group, Spirit Inc. number 2. You're going to get this matchup, and I think what sucks about Swiss is you can get these 1-2 matchups really early after round 1. At least waiting to round 3 if there's only 4 rounds, so be it to get it out. And it looks like it was a competitive match. The thing I want to point out here, though, is Ink Black. And the reason I want to talk about Ink Black is because when their name is just Ink Black, I was like, okay, that's the most boring name ever. Who knows who these guys are? But then you look a little bit deeper into them, and I make a connection, and I DM Mizuno. I was like, hey, this Ink Black team, I think I saw them in your college, in your CCA tournament. And Mizuno was like, yeah, they represent, I wrote this down. Thank you, Mizuno, for telling me as I looked for my notes. The Virginia Commonwealth. Did they have a good basketball team? I feel like I've heard of Virginia Commonwealth. Is that like the Virginia Commonwealth Institute? Is that like a military school or something? I'm not too familiar with it, but I feel like I've heard that before. Regardless, it is a college team. There's nothing about them on the brand here that make you recognize them as a college team from any university. And I know like a lot of universities can't use their school's name / don't want to use their school's name for things like that, but I'm glad I made that connection, so now I have something to talk about them. There's a talking point there. Oh, they also lost to Spirit Inc., the number 2 seed in the group. I guess that's a talking point as well. Group C, we want to look at Arise versus the Nova Nightshade. Now, I have no idea who Nova Nightshade is. Absolutely no idea who these guys are. But They were seated really low here. They got 2 wins, and they had played the top 2 teams in their group, which were their only 2 losses. Arise being the number 2 seed here, and they lost to the number 1 seed, but they took games off of the number 1 and number 2 seed along the way. So Nova Nightshade, an impressive 2-2 run here, and I wanted to point out this game. I also wanted to take the opportunity to talk about Arise, a team that finished in 3rd place in the Epsilon bracket, what may end up being the only Epsilon bracket ever in Low Inc history. These guys took 3rd place in it, and continued the kind of dominance they were looking for, built off of, and was able to, I believe, finish 4th place. They were at least able to make top cut out of this, going 3-1. They must have lost to their number 1 seed or something like that. The one match I want to put out in Group D, and we're going to get into some more college stuff here. So the Ink Vaders versus the Red Beak Splatoon. Ink Vaders getting the 2-1 win over this. I pointed out this match initially because I wanted to talk about the Ink Vaders, because I've been talking about them in Ludi, and I believe this is the first time I've seen them actually play in some tournaments here. But the Ink Vaders, we got to know, are they related to just Ink Vaders or not? Do they know Ink Vaders are a thing? Because not the Ink Vaders, just Ink Vaders have been around longer than my team has. So long before 2018. Might be one of the oldest teams in the entire community that's still going on. Do the Ink Vaders know that that's the same team name? Now, I just pointed this out because it was one of their closest matches. Didn't even recognize who Red Beak Splatoon is until yet again I looked to the CCA and saw, oh, I believe this team represents Illinois State. So the Red Beak representing the Redbirds of Illinois State. I wonder if K-Bot's got some sort of thing going on here, some sort of sway into how this team ended up here. But this, another example of a team that you would not recognize as a college team based off their name alone, unless you're just some bald dude like me who just naturally recognizes the connection because you're looking at so many things at once. Group F. E comes before F. I actually graduated college, believe it or not. Group E, we are looking at round number 3, Clown House taking on Hot Cocoa. I wish I had something better to talk about Hot Cocoa because I know I've seen that name before, but I've been looking at way too many different teams in the course of this weekend, so I can't remember anything Cocoa related. They must be like a lower div team. Clown House I do recognize though. Clown House is a team that got gold bracket in LSL number 25, and I believe they made top cut in this tournament. Making top cut in a tournament this big is way more impressive than making top cut in a group stage, especially in a tournament like this with a Swiss round where you're going up against teams with your same record every single round, as opposed to a normal group where you might play the toughest team first and like the worst team second, or in your final round. Here, you're going to play your toughest opponent mathematically possible in the 4th round. So I think it's a little bit more impressive that Clown House was able to escape this group on to top cut. The one match I want to point to, Group F, and this comes from round 4 right here. I never pronounced this team name correct. I'm going to do it for you right here and now, so listen well. Ikarioku. Please tell me that was right. I wanted to talk about them because I constantly see them in other tournaments. I'm still kind of surprised they're eligible for a little squilly. Don't take that out of context. A little Popgun's trying to say who should and shouldn't be eligible. No, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not one of those people in chat. I'm just saying I personally haven't looked into them enough. I just assume by some of the things I've seen them do, I know they've been in beta, that they would have done enough of the course to ultimately get banned from Little School League. Obviously, they haven't done that yet, but I'm convinced they'll do that eventually. The only reason I also wanted to talk about this was because I like this team name a lot, Lego My Ego. And this is a logo you don't make if you're a pickup. This looks like there was at least 5 minutes put into making this, possibly 6. So that makes me suggest this might be an actual team instead of just a pickup. And I support that. Lego My Ego is a fine enough team name. And I believe they got 2 G's here. So, wait, no, that is how Lego Waffles would spell Lego as well. So maybe there could be some copyright stuff if they become too good, but who knows. take a look at silver bracket. Look how freaking fat this thing is. How many teams is this a 32 team? It is. So correct me if I'm wrong. Only 4 teams didn't make a bracket. They made a bronze bracket and they just didn't play that out. So pretty much everybody but the bottom 4 did make a bracket. Look at this is silver bracket. Look how giant this thing is. This is awesome. So the team that ended up at the top of this one, Michigan State, another college team. Man, if you're wondering why the CCA is such an important thing, half of these teams are from the CCA at this point. It probably found out of competitive Splatoon through the CCA and vice versa. They find out about Little Squid League. More people find out about CCA. Like, I love that all these teams are going across orgs and standalone tournaments here to mix into things. Sparty able to get a trophy here in silver bracket. The Spartans better put that trophy somewhere next to all those Big Ten championship titles that they don't have. Sleep Deprivation Association, also known as the SDA, ended up taking second place in this bracket. The SDA went 3-3 low ink. Good to see them play consistently here. New Game Plus being the team that finished third out of this. New Game Plus played in Little School League 26, and they made silver bracket in there. Getting third place in this silver bracket trumps anything they did in the most recent Little Squid League. So nice improvement across the board there. Sleep Deprivation, the SDA really had to grind one out here against New Game Plus. But it looks like Sparty was pretty much unchallenged the whole way through except for Wipeout. I know it's stressful playing in a single limb that's best of 3. That is stressful to do, but it's the joy of this kind of tournament setting here. In gold bracket, the teams that actually won. Hold on. That's been us. Are you talking about Ink Black? I should be paying attention to chat. Fairy Light says, that's us. We've been considering a name change. LaMayo. Not a military institute, though. Mostly arts and medicine. Oh, okay. So, yes, the Virginia Commonwealth. I'm thinking of a different Virginia school. I must be. All right, so this is gold bracket here. Same thing as the silver bracket. Just a fat old single limb bracket. Best of 3 up to best of 5 semis and best of 7 grand finals. I actually watched this live, this grand finals live. I put all of my channel points, or not. Oh, no, I did. I did put all of my Little Squid League channel points on +2 L9. For no reason. I had no reason to believe they were going to win. I didn't think they were going to 4-0 or anything like that. I was just following the money line, and they were the underdog at the time of the bet. So it's like, if they win, this would be the best payout for channel points. And they went on to 4-0 JoJo over here in dominant fashion. There's not really anything. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on here, but there's not really anything I can go in depth about. And I'm already going a little bit longer than what I normally do with these things. But the top 4 teams I will at least mention. Man, these semifinal matches were not competitive. If you just look at the results. I know this bottom one was streamed. Ink Black, already talked about them. I do have an update. They are mostly arts and medicine school. They finished third place here over Arrowhead. Arrowhead being the team that is clearly the leader of the Arrow Village. You got the Arrow of Water, Arrow of Fire, Arrow of Ice, Arrow Electricity, Lightning, something like that. And you got Arrowhead, who my sources tell me is associated with those other Arrow folk. So this is the Arrow Village that these people are coming from, taking, they got 4th place. There's no trophy for 4th place, but still a very good run for Arrowhead across the board here. It wasn't, man, they survived 3 straight do or die game 3s before they just ran into the buzzsaw +2 L9. Now, who is +2 L9? I have no clue. Most of their players are new to competitive. By most, I mean 2. The other player I did recognize was this Hammy right here. This Hammy was on Not Clickbait that played in Low Ink. I believe that's what this this tag is right here. Some other two playing in their first tournament, and one other player played in Low Ink, but I couldn't like figure out what they're playing. So this is just a pickup. This is 100% a pickup team with a name that isn't going to make any sense to anybody. But still, congratulations to those players. I honestly cannot think of the last time a true, pure pickup won Little Squid League. It seems like their name brand teams have been winning it forever. But here a pickup came in, and it wasn't easy for them. You look at this, and they 4-0'd the other opponent. I don't think they lost a single game, a single match. But you look at the sets that they actually played in. Splatterlight Gambit took a game off of them. Counter Style took a game off of them. Solaris, they got 3-0'd, I believe. Oh, and Sparkling Sea took a game off of them. So they lost several games. So let's do the math here. They lost 3 there. 1, 4. So they lost 5 games, like 5 individual games. That's a lot. 5 individual games in a tournament with this few like best of 3 sets in single limb. That's a lot. Now they turned it on when they needed to, finishing out the tournament, winning at least 8 straight matches, possibly 9 straight matches here, playing their best at the right time of the day. So hats off to them. 6-star wanted level. That would make sense, because I believe that was the other player that I knew played in Low Ink, but I just couldn't pin down what team that they were from. For this team, though, which is an actual team, I remember playing these guys, Joe Cephalopod, Joe Starfish. I remember playing them in the Ludi Speed Ladder. I believe they had a Charger. Everybody had a Charger player, but I just remember that name because it was such a mouthful. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. These guys played in Little Squid League number 25. They got eliminated in round 3 of the gold bracket. So they've been a gold bracket contender in the 2 tournaments that they played in. I don't think they played in a Low Ink yet. I believe they've just been playing Ludi and Little Squid League. But they had a heck of a run all the way through here. I think they just ran into the buzzsaw of +2 L9, and this wasn't like a total curb stomp. Like Joe Star was in some of these games, and they were all their own counter pick. I think just +2 L9 just turned on the Jets at the right time. Again, when they're struggling to kind of survive a couple of these matches, hook, line, and sinker is just always a team that's just here. And I believe there's just another trend of the champion has to go through hook, line at some point anyways. But I think +2 L9 just after this match here just turned on the Jets and wasn't going to lose to anybody. So hats off to them. Hats off to everybody who competed in this. And more importantly, hats off to the TOs for putting in the work to do this. We'll see what comes to Little Squid League 28. I know way too much about this scene. I should do something else. If you'd like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, feel free to reach out. My socials below: Twitter, Mr._Popgun, Discord, Popgun, #5882, YouTube at 25Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Anchor.fm/Popgun, TikTok at Mr._Popgun. We haven't raided Becca in a while. Let's go do that. Make sure you get vaccinated. Stay safe. Enjoy whatever it is that you do over the course of the week. Sign up for Dapple Productions 20XX tournament, and I'll see you guys next Monday.